Hello, honorable members of the clan. So let's go back to the Gauteng High Court. It is now a long adjournment. But guys, I want to remind you of something here. Before we go any further and then we're listening to Gininda and going like, no. This is the same man who once upon a time was found by a high court to have lied about certain individuals in the Kretcher case. We must never forget that. This man is discredited. He discredited himself, and the court confirmed that his tactics of getting confessions, he does it in outside of the realms of the law. All right? Have that in mind at all times as you are listening to Gininda, because that man can lie with a straight face. And I noticed one thing about liars. He is aware of what's going on out there, what people are saying about this particular matter, that they don't believe that the people that are accused of deleting Sensomeo are the right people. Suddenly his confidence has lowered. Now the defense advocates have to ask him to raise his voice just a little bit. A situation that he never did with the trial within a trial. What went wrong or what changed? I will tell you what changed. His conscience. His conscience, and then every time when he has to speak on a specific point, he dips his voice, because it shows. I'm not a psychologist. I am not a psychiatrist either, but I am also quite good at picking out liars. And then a liar will not look you in the face, and secondly, they have the tendency of dipping their voice when it is crucial, or a point that is crucial, but they still want to drive that point across to convince you that they are telling the truth when they are not. Brigadier Gininda, as far as I am concerned, as I am listening to him, he's not honest. He's not being honest at all. But let's continue on what he was saying on the stand after the short adjournment. And he was still on the cell phone of Kelly Khumalo, and he read out the numbers this time to be correct, and said that Kelly Khumalo, it was a cell phone that was stolen by the intruders, and he's so sure that it's the intruders. He's very sure about that. And then Mr. Balo says that the same number picked up at Mluleki. Mluleki, is that how you Mluleki? And then he says yes, on the 26th of October 2014 at Mluleki Street, it did pick up, where everybody else is accounted for with their cell phone numbers at Clinic Towers by the hospital, I suppose. And then he continues to say, the second thing I looked at was the DNA, because the intruders had left ahead. And I was like, but do we have this information, or maybe I missed it? Because the only DNA I am aware of is of the accused. I'm not aware of the DNA results of everybody that was in the house, including Longotwala. I don't know. Please write in the comment section if I've missed that part. I don't know. I don't remember it. And then he continues to say, I found out that the DNA did not match anyone that was in the house. I go, huh? That's also an indication that there were actually intruders in the house. He goes on to read all the results of everybody that was in the house, that they were all excluded from the DNA samples. When was that? I don't remember this evidence. I don't remember this evidence at all. And then he says none of them were red. And then he says and then he further says the vehicle tracking system of the red Polo. I was like, oh, now we're getting to the Polo. And then he says, I checked if it was elsewhere on that night of the incident. And he says that from the scene, it also went to the clinic or the hospital, and it was not at the Mluleki Towers. Then my question was, is it possible that the Mluleki Towers as well does pick up from the clinic? I don't know. It's just a question. And then he continues to say, along with Twala's cell phone and AVL say they were at the hospital. And then he reads Longo Twala's cell phone number on record, and then he says Tower was clinic in Foslo. The other factor I looked at was the eyewitnesses. That's not the ones that were in the house, but the neighbors and those that were walking the streets, their statements. And the Ngaches, the next door neighbors, statement as well. One of the son did testify in the court, and in their statement they say that there were people who were seen running out of the Kumalo house after the gunshots. And then he continues to say that he remembers on top saying who was associated with the correctional services. I don't know why he had to include that. Also said they were sitting opposite the Kumalo house and saw people coming out running after the gunshots. And then he continues to say the description of the dreadlocks came from Tapseng and the other lady that were with him in the vehicle, one of the perpetrators, to have dreads. And another neighbor who helped with the identity of the second intruder, who was wearing a hoodie, mentioned the dreadlocks. There was no reason I could find that the neighbors would lie, since they were not related or had no relations between the Kumalos and themselves, except that they are neighbors. And then I was like, so they don't talk to each other? They're not on talking terms? Because in my neighborhood, that entire block, we are a family. We know everybody and everything that's going on. We look after each other's houses when we go to town or go on holiday. And we that's how we do it. And I'm like thinking, why this particular family? Okay, whatever. But then again, you could also hear from Zandile's attitude towards the neighbors when she was on the stand. And then he continues to say they mentioned the first responders who were told by the eyewitnesses that the intruders had run down the park. All statements were the same with very small differences, he says. And then he says the common denominator in most of the statements was the dreadlocks, especially coming from Tapseng. Then after that, there was an engagement between the National Police Commissioner and AfriForum because the investigation seemed to be stalling, and the Meiwas thought that the state was no longer interested in finding out what happened to their loved one. And so, as you remember, Sfiso Meiwa did approach AfriForum to basically become an eye and ears for the Meiwas to hear what is going on, because as a family, they don't have the powers to know what the police were doing. And then he says they were engaged by AfriForum regarding the investigations of the matter. We were under the management of Peruman or Brigadier Peruman to go speak to them around March, April 2019. We met with them. They said that they want to place on record themselves that they were going to be the watching brief for the Meiwa family, and they are to this day watching brief for the Meiwa family. And he continues to say, since they were watching brief, they are the ones that will report back to the family, meaning the Meiwa family. Subsequent to that, we carried on to look for the intruders. We held several meetings with AfriForum. I even attended one by myself because the facilitator, Brigadier Peruman, was no longer part of the team around late 2019. He says probably around December 2019. And we work very well with AfriForum even to this day. I thought that was like rubbing salt to the Meiwa family, who now don't actually agree with AfriForum's point of view that these people are the right people that the state has and prosecuting. And then he says, in early June 2019, I received a call from National Commissioner that he had somebody who knows what happened to Senzo Meiwa and the people responsible. This is where the names of two accused came up. The meeting took place at the office of the National Commissioner. I told them that I needed to speak to the person and the father, because apparently the police commissioner called Brigadier Gininda and said, hey, there's somebody here who says his father knows who actually deleted Senzo Meiwa. And he's a bit scared to say who they are because they're also relatives of theirs, and they are afraid of reprisal and also losing lives as subsequent to that. And so this is when Zungu, almost a Colonel Zungu, Constable Zungu came into the play or into the picture, and it turns out that is his father, Absalom Zungu, who said he knew who these people are that deleted Senzo Mayor. And then Brigadier Gininda had to go and meet with Zungu, and basically a conversation between the two of them took place where he actually asked Zungu if he could please convince his father to give a statement. And then Zungu said, yeah, he has to give a statement because I'm a police officer, and as a police officer, I cannot bring hearsay information. We need to get a statement from a person who knows. But who told Zungu's father this information? Is that not hearsay? He was not there. But yeah, let's continue. He says he even said that he's the police officer and he can't work with hearsay and fear for reprisal, fearing losing lives, etc. and so on. He went on to say he was stationed under General Lishabane, who's now retired, at the time where he was stationed as a police officer. This is Zungu. And and he said that he was a commander in the North Rand. This is now Gininda trying to say, after the meeting at the police commissioner's office, he tried to follow up with Zungu, but he was not getting the joy of finding Zungu, etc. and so on. But subsequently, when he got Peruman involved to go and look for him, when they found him, indeed, he did say that he managed to convince his father to give up the names of the suspects. And this is where two accused, the current accused, names were mentioned by the father and in a statement. We now have two possible suspects. And then my question is, there was a suspect by Mbata. How did Mbata came about to be one of the suspects, even arrested? And when no evidence was found, now they're looking for this one. How credible is this witness on the stand, who was once found by a court of law to be a liar? And not only a liar, but a scop and donor. Yeah, to get confessions. Anyways, and then he continues to say on the 30th of May 2020, that's when accused number 1 was arrested in Tembisa for drugs and ammunition, illegal ammunition, CAS 217-10-2019 or something like that. We did profile him under cold case analysis, and he was and he also has other cases, one of which is attempted murder, but the other ones are not easy to kind of like trace, he goes on to say. And then he says that we kept them so after the arresting accused number 1 and accused number 2, at some point they kept them at the police station so they are able to abstract DNA samples from them and other things, so that they do not disappear into the crowd and making it difficult for them to arrest them. So that's why they kept them in custody. To also look for other cases that are unsolved that may be linked to them. Basically, he was arrested in Phosphorus, and then this is where Brigadier Gininda said, hey, can you keep him there? This is now we're coming into the confessions. Remember the confessions in the trial within a trial? I don't think I'm going to go through everything because we already been through that lie already, because people were, they were tortured, basically. So by the time Gininda got a call from Muhola, what's his name? Accused number 1 was already ripe. He was ripe from what? From being scoped and donored by the police to make a false confession of what happened. That's my opinion. He says then I asked them to keep him at the Phosphorus police station because Sergeant Muhola mentioned that he would like to make a confession. When I got there, he was freely, voluntarily, and willing to make a confession, and he was clear and sober-minded. And he did not take any substances at the time. Colonel Mboto was then arranged to take the confession. Then I'm like, yeah, of course, this guy has already been tortured, all kinds of stuff done to him, so he's not going to mention that. And then he says that he did read him his constitutional rights and also told him twice that he has the right to get an attorney before he can make any statements, because there are consequences of making a statement if it is false. And then he continues to say that he did make the confession with a clear mind voluntarily and all that nonsense that he lied about, because we know, and many people who have been arrested by the police know that they never read you your constitutional rights. Some of them don't even know how to recite the rights that are supposed to be read out to a suspect when they're arresting them. He was clear that he was not the shooter, but somebody else, but he was at the crime scene. He proceeded to mention the names of Marco and Makimbi. And then he continues to say he further went to an Inyanga or Umkulu Zwane. And he says he doesn't know the address, but he can take the police to the address. And this is where that Sangoma person is the person. Sangoma basically is a traditional doctor. They said they went for cleansing after the deleting of Senzomeo. He says he even remembers very well when they got to Umkulu Zwane, who also testified in court, that Mr. Zwane said, how Wabosha Wanje, because he was ankle chained. And Mkulu asked, how Wabosha Wangaga, why are you arrested like that? But we're going to hear under cross-examination that he doesn't remember many things, but he can remember some few things like this one. It's going to be very lit and interesting, because I can tell that Mr. Mgomezulu is ready for him. Then he continues to say, then it was agreed that he's going to write a confession freely and voluntarily. And that's when Colonel Mboto took the confession. And then, I don't know, something happened at Errington police station where detectives headquarters is at, or the provincial headquarters is at. Guys, it's all lies. It's all lies. Right now, we are adjourned for lunch because Mr. Mgomezulu wanted something that I didn't write down. I forgot what he wanted. And then Mr. Balo is like, anyways, we are 2 minutes away from long adjournment if we can take long. Oh, he wanted to consult with accused number one because of the things that Gininda was saying on the stand that very far-fetched to me. Of course, it's a lie. Other than that, we are still on the long adjournment, and we'll continue with this one once it's all done. Thank you all so much for listening. Please make sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. See you later. Goodbye.